Episode 9 of Season 2 of The Pitt is here, and the digital blackout was now into its second hour. With the fax machine singing, clipboards, pens and paper flying around, we saw the chaos that was unfolding and how without the regular systems, not only were stress levels running high, but due to the confusion around the systems at play, patients weren't being seen to as they usually were and one almost died. With the firecracker patient Jude touching on some sensitive subjects, Dr. Santos' love life taking a hit, Mel's deposition getting underway, and there also being hints about Dr. Robby potentially not returning from his sabbatical. Let's dive into this week's episode, break it down and explain the ending. Here is The Pitt Season 2 Episode 9 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Dr. Robby. Within this episode, we saw Dr. Robby going through a wide range of emotions, and I kind of like that because I feel we haven't really had that from him in quite a while. We had him trying to lead the pack in resolving everybody's issues and questions that they had, other than Ogilvie of course. We had him being a joker with Howard. We had him almost being like a father figure to Dr. Whitaker in saying that he was proud of him, and also with Mel and her deposition. But as well, there was a more self-reflective side of him. Whether it be the small moments of looking at Dr. Langdon through the window and questioning if what he said a couple of hours ago about not wanting him in his ER was true, and also the topic on if Dr. Robby is even going to be coming back. We know that Dr. Robby has a sabbatical motorcycle trip that's on the horizon at the end of his shift, and the idea of stepping away for a short while has been something that's been dominating his mind. Whether it be the idea of handing power over to Dr. Al-Hashimi, somebody that he's had conflicting views with, or even just being away from what I'd describe as his family for an elongated period of time. But in this episode, there were two moments that were hinting at Robby potentially not coming back. Pair that with the two motorcycle accidents that we've had in this season, one where the patient actually ended up dying. It's got me concerned that the writers are lining up a tragedy for Dr. Robanovich. One time we saw this being hinted to us was when he was speaking with Dr. Whitaker, and he asked if he'd house sit for him whilst he was away. When he was getting up and was about to leave, he said to him, "And if I don't come back, you've got yourself a nice pad." This felt like a bit of a strange thing to say, but I didn't look too much into it. However, when Dr. Abbott was speaking with Dr. Robby about his sabbatical, he said to Robby, "There's going to be a lot of time to self-reflect. Are you sure you can handle that? If it gets dark, call me." Robby just laughed and shrugged it off like it was nothing, not looking Dr. Abbott in the eye, and I interpreted that as if Robby was actually struggling and that being around everybody in the pit was what was keeping him sane and out of that dark place in his mind. So I feel like over the next few episodes, we might actually start to see Robby's mindset start to shift as he gets just a few hours away from stepping away for a large period of time, and he might actually start to address that darkness inside of his mind. Or what I'm actually hoping is that somebody might recognize it. Maybe it might be Dr. Langdon, and that could be how their relationship might start to repair. Jude and Chantel. Jude and Chantel's story was one that was at the heart of this episode, and we saw that following a firecracker going off which caused Jude to lose 2 of his fingers, a moment that was so gory to watch on screen, we ended up finding out from Jude's sister, Chantel, that their parents weren't around and she was his guardian because their parents were deported to Haiti 9 months ago. Jude and Chantel were both born in the United States and their parents had been in the United States for a long time, but that still didn't prevent them from being deported. The pressure that Chantel was under in being Jude's sister, but having to adopt the role of being his mother, was a weight and a burden that she didn't expect to have. But we saw that even when she's doing her best, it still isn't enough because all it takes is an issue like that for social services to be called and for Jude to potentially be deported to Haiti himself to be with his parents. This is because in the eyes of child services, Chantel won't be seen to be doing a good enough job. This was actually where we saw Dr. Santos' softer side coming out because she didn't believe that they should have been separated. What this scene also showed us was how families can quite literally be broken up like that despite living in the country for a number of years, and the children in the situation are almost left to deal with the consequences of having their parents plucked from their home. Mel's deposition. Whilst we didn't get to see Mel's deposition, we saw the build-up to it and the fact that Dr. King was very much in her head about what was going to be happening. She planned on taking a break before it, but as we saw, Becca, her sister, was in the ER due to her stomach hurting, which it seems like could well be a UTI, and that was causing Mel's mind to spiral even more because she was worried. Dr. Langdon ended up taking over from Mel, and when he walked into the room, he got the lights to be switched off because he could tell that Becca was overstimulated by being in the hospital. This felt like a really nice touch, and it showed that he could read her well, and the fact that Robby noticed that too, in my mind, showed that Langdon should be working in his ER. Mel was caught off guard when the attorney approached her, and we saw the worry that was inside of her eyes. When she turned to Robby and said, "Right now," almost looking for a way out of it, you could tell that she just wanted the ground to swallow her whole. So I'm hoping in the next episode we're going to actually see what unfolds in her deposition. Dr. Santos. Dr. Santos is definitely improving compared to how she'd been the past few weeks, and a lot of that was coming from the fact that she was beginning to show some form of compassion. For example, within this episode, with Jude having lost several of his fingers due to the firecracker, she was being there for him in a way like I've not seen her be there for anybody this season, other than the young girl. The care for the young girl, the care for the baby, and the care for Jude shows that I think she is best suited when working with kids because it brings out the softer side in her. There was one comment that she made about wanting to do her charting other than caring for new patients, which I did find a little bit frustrating, but I suppose it was just bringing to light the sheer amount of workload that doctors have during the day, and then after hours is when they have to catch up with all of the admin. Dr. Santos and Dr. Garcia's casual relationship that Santos definitely doesn't want to be casual also got a focus in this episode, and we saw that the date that she had planned, which was to have Garcia watching fireworks with her after their shift, was put on ice, and even though Garcia said that she wanted to keep it casual, you could tell in Santos's eyes that it hurt that they weren't spending time with each other. So I wonder if that's going to cause her attitude to change any more throughout the season. There was the whole scene with the lady from the furry convention, which was pretty funny, and Santos did make light of the fact that her relationship with Garcia was a bit of a mess, so maybe it won't impact her as much as what it seems. Santos is a caring character at her core, and I think she's somebody that's suffering in silence, as we saw with the scars on her leg. Dr. Javadi. Dr. Javadi had the biggest mistake of them all in this episode, and due to the digital blackout and systems being down, Javadi didn't put her patient, Mrs. Burns, on the board, and the order slip wasn't carried out, so the delay in time meant that her mild abdominal pains was now causing her to present for the worst. She was on the cusp of death, and Javadi felt single-handedly responsible for the condition that she was in because she was the one who wasn't following the correct protocol for the analog system. The focus on her breathing that we had and the paralyzed nature that took a hold with the glassy look on her eye showed that she knew that she messed up and it was all falling on her. If the patient died, it would have been due to her neglect, and that was something that also felt like it connected to the lazy doctoring that Dr. McKay's patient spoke of earlier, but Dr. McKay wasn't that in the slightest. The grilling that Garcia gave to Javadi in calling her a nepo baby felt a bit out of line and over the top, and it did make me feel really bad for her because it was a simple mistake. But what this showed us was that there's no room for simple mistakes and errors in this line of work. It's life and death, and it's all on you if it doesn't go well. Roxy. Roxy's story was one that didn't get as much of a focus in this episode, but it definitely feels like her story's coming to an end. There was an ice cream party that her children threw for her, and with the look on the doctor's eyes and even Roxy's eyes, it's as if they knew the reality of what was happening and that Roxy was just simply done with it all. I thought the little touch of the youngest son jumping on the bed and the small reaction from Roxy just indicating how he wasn't fully aware of the severity of the situation provided a rawness to the scene, but it also brought a lightness to it too. It showed the innocence of being young and not understanding the consequences, but also the sad reality of the fact that he'll understand the harsh reality of life soon enough and at such a young age. When Roxy was in the darkness and alone in the room, speaking of how she thought life wasn't fair in giving her a husband and a family that love her the way that they do, but then being taken away so cruelly. And also the question of not knowing what hurt more, the illness that she had or the fact that she'd never see her kids grow up. It just brought to light that these are questions that people do face in their dying moments. The reality of having young children and knowing that you'll never see them walk down the aisle, having their own children or watch them grow up is cruel. And it shows that whilst life can be beautiful, on the other side of the coin, it can be vicious too. Roxy asked Dr. McKay if she's seen a lot of death over the years, and the line that broke me the most was, "Do you have any advice on how to die? I've never done it before." That was a piece of dialogue that was just so upsetting to hear. We're seeing the light in Roxy slowly start to fade, and with the morphine being upped and her being in so much pain, that side effect of the extra morphine being given, which is her potentially dying, is something that I feel we could end up seeing happening. Ogilvie. Now, Ogilvie is usually an annoying character, but he actually wasn't in this episode. There was a moment of humour when he had his hand up for an issue and Dr Robby told him to put it down, which I think stemmed from the cruel nature that he had towards Howard and Robby not wanting to help Ogilvie because he was being rude. But there was also a small moment where we got a bit of an insight into the backstory of him and maybe why he's like the way that he is. There was a patient that he was dealing with that was an English teacher, and whilst they were speaking with each other, the teacher said to Ogilvie that his father must be proud of him for going into the medical field, to which Ogilvie responded and said, "You'll have to ask him that." This insinuated that Ogilvie's dad most likely isn't that forthcoming with praise of his son, and he's had to be the loudest in the room in order to get his father's attention. This then begins to make sense as to why he's overbearing, tries to outspeak everybody else, and doesn't have much empathy within him, because he's never been on the receiving end of it. Whilst it was only a small moment in the episode, it just allowed us to understand a little bit more about him. My review of the episode. I thought this was a strong episode of the show. The chaos that's present on the floor is something that was at the core of this episode. Honestly, I loved Monica arriving, and it threw back the years with her being the conductor to the orchestra and just getting everything flowing in a seamless way. It was comical, but you could tell that she was good at her job too. The individual cases and stories that we see in this show are all individualistic, but at the same time, there's a relatability to what we see. Whether it be the fighting to look after your sibling, feeling responsible and almost messing up, feeling like you've got nobody to speak to, losing a loved one, or even just the stress of trying to keep up with work. There's something in every patient that you can relate to, and I commend the show for that. It feels very human and real, and a show like this needs that. The direction that Dr. Robby's character is going in is one that's definitely feeling dark, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect it in the slightest. I feel like now that I've noticed it, there are all of these subtleties from the previous episodes that I'm looking back on and recognizing. So his story is one that I feel will take center stage a little bit more over the course of the next few weeks as we build towards the finale. I thought the introduction of the radiologist provided a moment of humor and got some laughs, especially with the way that everybody was just obsessing over him and was infatuated, frozen on the spot. The cliffhanger at the end of this episode, with us seeing the news broadcast of the water park collapse, hinting at there being injuries and a death, shows that more chaos and an influx of patients are going to be heading towards the ER, meaning that there are no signs of it slowing down. Honestly, I can't believe we're lucky enough to still have 6 episodes left in the season. It's refreshing for a show to not finish in 8 or 10 episodes and it actually feel like there's rhythm and momentum behind it for the story to build. So, there you have it, the Pitt Season 2 Episode 9 Ending Explained. If you want to see more episodes of the Pitt being broken down, then check the playlist below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What did you think of this episode? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.